Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Zach Young, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we're joined by Dan O'Sullivan, a business coach and systems strategist who helps coaches and service providers turn chaos into clarity by tightening their offers, systems, and sales processes. Through his work at Dan O'Sullivan Coaching and Systemations, Dan helps clients nail their niche, package their IP, dial in pricing, and build scalable offers while installing lead generation, automation, and onboarding systems that remove themselves as the bottleneck. Very important there. Dan, a very, very warm welcome to Founders Future.
Thanks for having me, Zach. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. Going to be a great episode, a lot to dive into. Before we do, I do like to start with your background, though. So before what you're doing now, business coaching, can you walk us through what were you doing previously and what was really your inspiration to get into the space?
Yeah, I'll condense this down as much as I can. I moved from Ireland to Australia. I found a passion for handstands and I posted every day on kind of social media, kind of all that stuff. And I really dive deep into the realm of mobility. And what I realized is that people who were trying to hold a handstand couldn't actually put their arms over their head. So that really fell down a rabbit hole of just getting people to move better. We then flipped our kind of social media strategies more around algorithm based and kind of performance based. We trialed back in about 2020 and we started to notice a pattern that was happening and videos that were getting more watch time and stuff like that. And it was kind of that early years of when people weren't really aware of kind of hooks and whatnot. And we really doubled down on the high performing videos. And as a result, we actually grew our social media from 5,000 followers to over 350,000 followers in as little as 2 weeks. We then continued to grow it to over 500,000 in under the 90 days because we were really focusing on that kind of brand awareness and being the authority figure in, I guess, that particular space. So people looked at me as the mobility guy. And yeah, it was pretty awesome. It brought a lot of success on the back end. But more importantly, then what happened was we realized that we could replicate this framework and we replicated across different kind of coaching niches. We've had people with brand new accounts now get up to thousands and thousands of followers. So we know it works. And yeah, I guess my passion I have a background in computer science. I also was an athlete for many years in Ireland. So I've been able to amalgamate those together and it's been exciting. Yeah.
I love it. All that growth, is that organic?
Yeah, we've never used any of that bot crap or anything like that. I was always weary of that kind of stuff. My attitude in life is nothing comes for free. It's why I get up at 4 a.m. to go and train and do all these things. Nothing comes easy, right? But it's definitely worth it. I'll give you that.
Love it. Love it. That amount of growth. So that was 2020, right? You went from...
It was 2022. So 2020 was when we started to look like I posted on social media every day for about 4.5 years and we got to about 5,000 followers. Then what we noticed was, TikTok was starting to pop off. So we started to trial these kind of different types of reels and different sort of strategy. I knew, like, what I always say to people is, I want you to think of your words as currency and you don't want to spend money. So if you have to use a word, make sure that it's really clear and descriptive in terms of what it is, because especially in short form content, people don't want to give you more than 30 seconds. You're lucky if people give you more than 8. So for me, it's get punchy, problem solve, give them a reason why they're going to want to watch it or share it to somebody else. And then we basically put out a video that I knew would raise a bit of controversy. So there would either be an A result or a B result, but either way, people would either comment or send it to their friend and say, hey, try this, will you? Because it didn't work for me, but loads of people are saying it worked for them. And that's what I feel is, it's like, I relate it to like a tabloid, right? Tabloid paper. They sell on negative news rather than positive news, right? Nobody wants to hear the positive. So in terms of short form content, I'm always like, if you can raise an eyebrow or you can cause a question, you're more likely going to have a bit more engagement, right? And so organically, that's even to this day is still the best and most efficient way to grow your social media platform. It's by raising those eyebrows. Yes, you can gain followers by jumping on a trend, but you don't necessarily just want entertainment followers. You want followers who actually, especially if you're using it as a business, if you're going to put your product out there, you want to know that the people who see that straight away are going to dive into it. They become, as I say, the diehard believers.
That's a really good point in conversation piece is, quality versus quantity of followers. right? Someone who has millions of followers, but they get 10 likes and they couldn't sell a $50 small ticket item. Those million followers might as well be none, right?
100%. So what I say is, if you think of like a seesaw, I always take everything in life as a seesaw approach. So the idea is yeah, let's put some stuff out there that we know is going to get people to share it and whatnot. I did a video the other day where talking about our highest video related to fitness was just close to 15 million views, right? Now, what that did was it caused us to explode. And then when people came in because of that video, we had other videos. What I noticed was people were liking and liking and liking. Like, so there was just this, I could see the algorithm just being nurtured because what I always say to people is everybody loves to binge, right? You watch a Netflix series, it comes to the end. Oh, I'll just watch one more episode. It's the same with social media, right? If I have come across your videos and I find them really beneficial for my problem, well, I'm most likely going to watch the next video. And so even when I'm giving somebody an approach to social media, I always get them to think of about kind of 9 to 12 videos ahead because you don't just want to be posting randomly because somebody told you to post consistently. You want to be posting because you have an understanding as to where you're trying to navigate those people. And that can change on different weeks. If you're somebody who runs a webinar, as an example, or a podcast, maybe the week leading up to that is like the snippet towards that. If you're about to do a launch, then maybe that week is leading towards the launch. So we can still be quite specific. But the beauty of that then is when I'm doing video 1, I kind of understand what video 12 is going to be. And then I can kind of lead it into that pattern. So then people are more likely going to want to watch the next one. And that's the most effective way that you're going to keep people not only on your page, but actually engaged. So the seesaw approach is put the videos out that potentially could go viral, but then you're going to make more money on the videos that probably don't perform as well in terms of the watch time and all that, but they might be a testimonial that somebody says, that's me. Okay, now I know he can help me. I'm going to work with this person. And I've seen it. I literally made a video the other day. 15 million views, got loads of followers. 200,000 views, we made over 100K. And I can tell it came from this because of the way we've built our funnels. So it's like most people will go, oh, you got 15 million views, you must have made a fortune. It's like, well, we got them into our ecosystem. And then as a result, we had these little nurturing sequences that we knew were going to pop off.
I love that. So kind of the eyebrow raising, going viral first, right? That's going to get the eyes, the followers. And then to follow up after that, maybe would you incorporate maybe a little more long form content, maybe get your personality out there. They get to know you, like you, they trust you, that kind of process.
100%. And I also think with the way AI is getting now, people are getting fatigued. So what I'm noticing is if you are somebody who could do in-person events, as an example, it's a lot better way to create a better connection with the people that you potentially want to work with. And that, as well as the social media strategies, I think is super effective going into 2026 because, I mean, AI now is like 90% where you could not tell if that's a real video or not, right? And so it's going to get even crazier in the next few months. And that's where I feel these kind of off the grid retreats or in-person events, masterminds are going to be so effective because I know it's Zach. Hey, I can see him. I can shake his hand and know it's him. And I think what people are getting a bit blinded by at the moment now is this volume idea, which works well if you're somebody selling a social media growth like coaching, because then you're kind of saying, hey, look, I can post across all these things. Yeah, cool. But if I'm trying to, I don't know, let's say sell a nutrition program, I could bombard somebody and they're like, oh, that's just too much, too intense. While as, you're going to find one thing we noticed was when we used AI, if somebody was coming to talk in a fitness business and they've had back pains for years and they cry their heart out in a message and then all of a sudden they get an AI bot that just says, I've acknowledged your message, like why don't you book in for a call? It doesn't give them what they're looking for, right? So I think if you take the seesaw approach in most of the stuff that you do, then you understand that like you're not there for the vanity metrics. You're just there because of the tactic involved. Because psychologically, the more followers you have, if somebody comes across your page, they already value you a little bit more. It's natural.
True.
That's reality.
Absolutely. You've mentioned we a couple times. I got to assume you got a team working with you. Can you kind of walk us through the team and how you went about expanding the team?
Yeah, so we first started off, it was me, and I would do all the filming, all the video editing, basically everything. And then as most people do, started to look into how can I make this bigger? How can I post more? And I've got a young family, so I had to try and find this happy balance. And the big thing for me was around, you've probably heard this, but like I look at my price, like what does it cost me for an hour to do my labor? And if I can get somebody to do that at a different price, then I can increase my volume. So, a lot of people I see, they want to do everything themselves because they don't want to spend a little bit of money. But if you're not willing to spend, you're not going to grow. And what I noticed was, I don't know, let's say I charge myself $250 an hour. Well, I could get someone to edit my videos for a tenth of that. So now I can get 10 videos for the same price as it takes me to do 1 hour. And I was doing 15 hours a week of editing, offloaded that to somebody else. Now I had better content. Then what I did was I hired like a web developer in the background. So that way, when we were building all our funnels, I would have someone to help me alongside. Again, my biggest downfall at the start was that I could do most things, having a background in computer science, studying web design, all that kind of stuff. I could build a lot of the things myself, but I really had to look and think, where am I best investing my time? I need to be the front of house because that's what's going to bring in the attention. And so we've just naturally started to, then I took in a graphic designer, then I took in a Figma designer, so like a UX, UI, so they could start to design out our websites. And now when we help people, so we do have like a done for you offer where we pretty much run people's social medias, everything from research, scripting, posting. So from the back of that, then we obviously have to have the right team in place that can actually, go in and look and go in and design something special for those people, not just, again, regurgitated templates, which it's very obvious when something is regurgitated. And I get there's two approaches. Like one is people are willing, in our done for you, people are willing to do it right. I also appreciate that there's people who are at the starting point. So that's where templates can be beneficial because it's more cost effective and you can get out there. But I think it was Gary Vee said it. It's like, hire fast and promote faster. And that's been a mentality that I've always taken, is that I'm very loyal. A lot of people, the people we've worked with are working with me now for 8 years, 5 years, 3 years. The people who don't work, I fire quite quickly, and I give them warnings and I set out KPIs. And if they're not hitting them, it's like, look, it's the business is losing money because of your particular area and you're not up to scratch. Here's the KPIs that we've set out. We've been very fair. We've given you the help that's needed. It's just not working. And so if anybody's listening, I would always recommend that, get an admin first so that you can, any repetitive tasks, either see if you can build it in a system through AI and then actually have an admin monitor that. Don't think that you're just going to have this whole business running automatically. You're still going to need human beings to be looking at these pieces. But rather than think of it as, oh, well, why am I paying them if they're just using AI? It should be about they're getting a lot more done, a lot more efficiently, a lot quicker so we can grow. And that's kind of my mentality with any kind of hiring and building an actual team, right?
Yeah, that's a tough mentality for a lot of business owners to have. They can't let go of their baby, right? No one's going to love their baby as much as they will. But as you said, their talents are better focused elsewhere to help grow the baby,
Yeah,
right?
interestingly, I've got two post-its on my monitor here, and one says it's easier if I do it myself, and I have a big X through it, and then the other one says nobody can do it as good as me, and I have a big X through it. And I always say to people is like 70% consistently is still growth. So if you can do it at 100%, but your team can do it at 70%, it just means you can put your energy somewhere else, and that 70% is still going to grow. And that goes with, any kind of closing on sales calls, any kind of setting with customers, just basically everything that you think you're the only person who can do it. Let me tell you, you hire someone who specifically does that, they're probably going to do it better than you. The key to it, though, is you educating them in the way that you want it and then giving them the space to bring their flair to it.
Yeah,
You don't want a
absolutely.
robot, right? Like, I see too many people who won't let go because they think they're the only person who can do it. And then the other aspect is that they demand too much on that individual. And that's where I feel is if you just have clear SOPs, you're willing to kind of negotiate in terms of this is the only way and just find their flair, especially in creative roles. If you give someone, you hire a graphic designer or a Figma designer, they don't just want to regurgitate what you're telling them to do. They want to be able to bring in their own little flair. And I've had great success with giving that space to graphic designers and then I guess seeing what they come up with, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Dan, you've been in the space a long time. You had mentioned events as well, as you think that's going to be a big place for 2026. Have you yourself been doing events or had plans for events in the future?
Yeah, so for many years I used to do international fitness events. We've done them in, Spain, basically across Europe. I've done them across Australia. I've never done them in the US, mainly just with two young kids when we were traveling. It was just a little bit hard to get there, but it's definitely on my wish list because I think about 80% of our followers are America based. So yeah, there's a big market for it. Now, we've just started to do a lot more social events now. So last weekend here in Australia, we were doing one around social growth strategies and just teaching people a lot of the psychology behind posting and how to actually create an effective reel, as well as how to be consistent, like, not just posting randomly, and what that does for the algorithm when you are consistent. 2026 is going to be a big year for us. We'll do an awful lot around Australia, first of all, and then would definitely be looking to hit the US. I'm actually hoping to go to the World Cup next year, so that would be pretty awesome. I'm just
Mm.
waiting for Ireland to qualify.
You're not the first Aussie who's mentioned that on the podcast, and for a reason to come into the States. So that's going to be quite the event.
Yeah,
That's
I
for
actually
sure.
used to live in the States. I lived in Boston, in Somerville, and then North Quincy for about 4 or 5 months. Many years ago, I was playing football.
Very good. American football?
Irish football, so Gaelic football. It's quite big on the east coast of America.
Huh. Boston does
Yeah.
have a pretty big Irish population. Am I right there?
Yeah, it's 100%. It's definitely the best place. Or that, or New York is definitely the best place to be as an Irishman, or Chicago. But yeah, those three places for sure.
Very cool. Very cool. It's been a journey. Dan, pleasure having you on, my friend. We touched on the future, a lot of good things coming. Where can the listeners find you? Where can they keep up with all the shenanigans of 2026?
I'm most active on my social medias on Hands Dan. So think of your hands. I'm Dan across all social media platforms. And yeah, always open for a chat with anybody if they're looking for help around growing their business. I am weird about this stuff, so there's no silly questions.
Love it. Hands Dan, just about everywhere. Dan, thank you for your time. Pleasure having you on
Thanks,
today.
brother. Thank you.
Absolutely. And that will wrap up another inspiring episode of Thunder's Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go and connect with Dan on all of his social media at Hands Dan. All of his links will be in the show notes and description down below. Are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're looking to scale your business, and you really want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with our team and discover how we went from 0 to 30 million per year in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on climbing.